I come from Ontario, and as I was saying a little bit earlier, we met with the Great Lakes Fishery Commission. I have to read because I'm learning this world. One thing I did ask them was inland fisheries, and I know that's not the subject of this report here, is when we talk about complex jurisdictional issues, as well as the fact that Indigenous peoples have a relation with the Crown as opposed to the province or with the United States of America. I'm just wondering how DFO helps facilitate what is really a federal responsibility in terms of treaty rights for Indigenous people on the Great Lakes, because there is fisheries on the Great Lakes, recognizing jurisdictionally there's provincial, there's international, there's all these different borders, but you have a federal entity in there, which are the rights of Indigenous people. Do you have any input on how that's managed by DFO? How do you support Indigenous fishers in there? Because from what I was told yesterday, it happens to be very good people, whether it be the commissioners appointed by Ontario, et cetera, who include them in discussions. But a haphazard approach to Indigenous people fishing in the Great Lakes should be consistent with what we do on our coastal areas. So I'm just curious what your engagement would be.
A very good question, and it is a different context from the nations that we're speaking to in this context, where there is a particular set of historic treaties in the Great Lakes region. The management of inland fisheries is largely a responsibility delegated to the province, but by instruments within the Fisheries Act. So we have a series of regulations, for, say, the fishery in Ontario that we work on with the province, and in that exercise of regulatory development, have the opportunity to ensure that there is alignment of the obligations that rest on the federal government in respect to the Fisheries Act, and that those cascade to what the province executes on or performs on our behalf. In respect of specifically of Indigenous participation in Great Lakes fisheries, the province does take on the direct role to manage those relations. I have not myself heard particular challenges in terms of the involvement of nations in that exercise, but certainly if there were, that it would be appropriate for nations to flag those either to the government of Ontario or ourselves directly, and we would certainly work with the government of Ontario to make sure that those were addressed appropriately. And of course, in that context of the Great Lakes fishery, we do have a co-management regime with the U.S., particularly around the eradication of sea lamprey, and that's a very important and ongoing exercise, and one that has had huge value to the preservation of Great Lakes fisheries over the past 70 now years.
Thank you.